Hello my dear esports fans and friends, how are you? I'm feeling pretty fine because the Blast group stage is on. The best teams of the world will fight for the final Blast, which as always will be held in the arena to the howls of the crowd. But well, that will be only in the autumn. For now, the teams are just fighting to get there. Today I will show you briefly the results of the Blast, and also we've got many news, including the following: Boomich's surprising side hustle, new hype around the cheater keyboard, Donk getting banned on Faceit, Twistzz tells the truth about Cadian, and much more. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. And as always, we start with the news. We don't have a lot though, but some of them are pretty fun or even dramatic. And probably the most discussed topic of the community is this cheater keyboard from Razer. It has this snap tap feature embedded, and this topic has taken over the whole world now. In case you don't know what it is, this keyboard helps you to strafe. You don't have to release the previous key to make a counter strafe. As a result, everything becomes more responsive and faster, so you just press A or D and you're just standing there still shooting. Sursion, for example, said that this thing is just imbalanced and really gives a boost. Various bloggers and streamers also tried it, and they all appreciated it. And it turns out that many pro players are already using it at tournaments. There's a whole list on Reddit already with everyone who has been spotted with this snap tap thing. It's Electronic, Ikinder, Nexa, Rain, Flit, Torji, Frozen, Creams, and many others. Even the Majors MVP, JL. Though, by the way, he himself denies all this and says that he didn't use anything.
Snap tap?
No.
I see Reddit, you snapped that.
Yes,
you lie,
me too.
brother.
Bro, you're a liar.
No. 100% real, not snappy tappy.
Yeah, right, bro. JL also said that this is an advantage if you have such a keyboard and your opponent doesn't, and something should probably be done about that. Faceit, for example, officially allows it. You can use it in tournaments as well. They say that Mouse has been using it since ESL Pro Leagues. But bros, it's a $300 keyboard, just having a pre-installed script, so obviously if you don't want to buy it, you can simply Google it and download it. It's just a simple config file, but for example ECA forbids this script. Literally, using this Razer keyboard is okay for them, but using this config is not okay. It's actually funny, it's a real pay-to-win, and for pro players as well. But we can just use it on Faceit or matchmaking games and win. Ain't that cool? Yeah. Although some people are against it. For example, Flum, a famous streamer, he thinks it's a legal cheat. Also, Maui Snake thinks it's a cheat as well. He says that soon they will add the recoil patterns into gaming mice and all that. And he's supported by some pro players, but so far fewer people are unhappy than those who believe it's a good thing. Donk, for example, said that the difference is not that significant. Maybe the Razer keyboard feels better, but not that much. Like, yeah guys, surely Donk didn't notice the difference because he moves almost perfectly. He doesn't really need any keyboard or scripts. He's just a cyborg and he has learned to make perfect strafes himself. And by the way, Donk got banned on Faceit. Apparently, Faceit's blue-collar players were so upset with Donk that they just flooded him with reports. And the funny thing is that it happened at the same time when all these talks about the cheater keyboard started. The timing was just perfect. And people thought it wasn't a coincidence. But eventually it turned out that it was just a bug and he was immediately unbanned, so it's all okay. And now, my friends, to the most dramatic part of this episode. Twistzz and Zews gave interviews about what went wrong in Liquid. And it turns out Cadian isn't quite the leader he was in Heroic. Playing with Cadian was nothing like I was used to in FaZe. In a way, it made me appreciate Kerrigan even more, said Twistzz. So he basically thinks that Cadian is worse than Kerrigan, while Zews told what were the initial plans of Team Liquid. So firstly they wanted to call OC and Breeze, and he himself was initially called to coach more because of Case Serrato, so that the Brazilian would help another Brazilian. But in the end it turned out that they could sign only Skulls. So they basically assembled the team from what they could, and everything was fine, but in January there was some kind of a serious conflict, and everything self-destructed. In general, initially the team was assembled by several people, like the coach, the management, and the manager. And guys, as you know, usually such collective efforts just don't work, so it didn't work. And another reason for the failure was Cadian. Here's what literally Zeus said. Cadian's leadership is tied to the blind faith of his teammates, and Liquid players already had experience playing with Casper, so they were not ready to give him the required 100%. And you know what, guys, I think it's clear. Cadian raised Heroic, brought them up, turned them into monsters, and they just trusted him to the end, except for the whole Astralis thing. Cadian told them what to do, and they did it without even thinking if it was right or if it could have been done differently. You can even see it on the webcams, how he told the guys off for any small mistakes. In Liquid, all players were too experienced, some even were captains before, and therefore they had their own opinions. And that was basically the kind of environment Cadian wasn't used to be working in. He couldn't just come and be the alpha, be the leader, and in the end everything fell apart. It's a shame for the good man, and he's back to his roots now, by the way. Yesterday on the Blast he came to analyze the games. Maybe he will be the observer at the next tournament once again, who knows. Tell me in the comments below, what do you think about this whole situation with Liquid and Cadian? I am eager to know. Next, we have a funny story. Boombl4 in a recent interview said that until he was 25 years old, he practically never brushed his teeth. And he wasn't really joking, so some genius dude from a dental clinic saw it and got involved. Like, he found literally a perfect advertising case, and Boombl4 is now working with them. Apparently the lack of tournaments is making itself felt, so Boombl4 found himself a small part-time job, and I remind you guys to brush your teeth regularly. Boombl4 can afford treatments in top clinics, but I, for example, would have to take out a mortgage to do if I had bad teeth. Now, some news from Ekinder. They will play Blast today, and well, Marex wanted to practice a bit, but found that he couldn't do it properly. He says that PCs in Copenhagen barely give 200 FPS, and if my memory serves correctly, their monitors are 240 Hz, so it doesn't work as it should, and I don't really understand it, because it's Blast. They've always been known for excellent organization. I mean, the other week there were problems with PCs in India, and if you haven't seen it, I told everything in the previous video, and I advise watching it, but now we're in Denmark. And I'm kinda scared about this fact. But on a serious note, I think it's just an isolated mistake and the organizers will fix it promptly. I hope. And now, my friends, let's talk about your most favorite topic, the cash, the money, the dollars. Recently, Jason Lake unveiled the earnings of his team Complexity. For 2024, his org earned as much as $8,792,000 from royalties, sponsors, prize money, and other sources. Let's go in order. For participating in leagues such as Blast, Complexity earned $1,350,000. Royalties brought $2,455,000. Sponsors helped with $3,225,000. Something called services provided by the org got $1,305,000. And the most modest column is the prize money, only $300,000, which is not that lot. And according to him, in 2025, Complexity should earn $9,379,000. It's a pity, of course, that we have no information about how much the org spends maintaining this miracle, I would say. I look at these figures and it's even scary to imagine how much, for example, NAVI or Team Spirit or FaZe Clan could possibly earn. Like, they have better media power, more money from the prize pools too, and all that. It would be really cool to see how much esports orgs earn and how do they do it. Imagine if they shared this information, but they won't, obviously. And by the way, the same Complexity are very dissatisfied with Bad Boom. In general, one of Complexity's managers simply criticized the orgs of BBdacha for not inviting them to a tournament with a decent prize fund. Well, it simply looked like the guys were just offended that they weren't asked to join. You see, BBdacha has no quals for the American region, and it's fairly impossible to play with the European teams on their servers. But you know what, guys? Honestly, I think it's the orgs to decide who to call and who not to call in the end. And such statements from a huge esports org look as strange as possible. And guys, remember by the way how Complexity players always look sad and dead serious during the games? Grim explained that it's only during the matches that they have these tense and angry faces. Outside, they're like a family, fast and furious stuff, everybody's friendly, funny and all that. But you know what? Wait, combine this fact and the previous thing that we just discussed, we get something like this. Bros just sit there with the long faces, just play for the sake of the game, not really aiming to win anything because they earn millions of dollars just for the royalties and stuff, so why even bother? And I mean honestly, among all of them only Elige is trying to do something, I think. And well, enough of it, let's move on to Blast. Here we have another group stage, which we have already seen a lot of, but now the organizers decided to change the format. Before we had two groups, with a lower bracket, the other lower bracket, another lower bracket, and the ultimate lower bracket. Some teams played each other like 2 or even 3 times in a couple of days. And literally everyone was bored with this format, and it had zero competition in it. It was easier to succeed in the group than to fail. But now everything is completely different. There are 4 groups for 16 teams, and only 1 team from each group will go straight to the finals. So it's already super tough. If you finish second in the group, you will go to the additional bracket, where all the second placers will play for 2 more slots. And that's basically how only 6 of 16 teams will reach the Blast finals. Of course, there will be Blast Fall Showdown still, where all the teams that have dropped out in this one will go and fight for 2 more slots, but that's a whole another story. In general, personally, the format seems a lot better. The competition is higher and more tense, and there are a lot of chances to fail. And now to the groups themselves. In the first one we have Spirit, OG, Complexity and Heroic. We have obvious favorites, but who knows what will happen in the course of the championship. In Group B, it's Vitality, Gamer Legion, Astralis and Falcons. Here it's more interesting, several teams are claiming the first line at once. Group C is FaZe Clan, G2, Cloud9 and Ninjas in Pyjamas. And Cloud9 were super lucky with their group. It's their first tournament with a new lineup, and immediately they have to sweat really hard. And the last group is NAVI, BIG, VP and Liquid, with clear favorites and clear outsiders. All in all, my guys, it's gonna be a very hot week. I'm not gonna review the matches, so here are just the results so far. However, some teams have already left the tournament, and we've got a couple of interesting stories to tell. For example, firstly, after the Spirit vs Heroic game, Kixon said that it's very hard to play without an AWPer. And guys, in case you missed it, Heroic placed Saw instead of Dexter, as the sniper couldn't make it to the tournament due to visa issues. But again, according to Kixon, they were trying to play more aggressively because of Dexter's absence and have rearranged their tactics a bit. And you know what, guys, I honestly have a lot of respect for Heroic here, because even in the absence of their frag leader and an important member of the squad, they're not just AFKing officials but trying to think of something. It's a good and a thoughtful approach. And now, my guys, let's look at something really cringy. Falcons versus Gamer Legion. Obviously, it's not about the game because it was an easy walk for Falcons, but GL's Flamas decided to go full weird. He tried to somehow raise morale, but it honestly didn't help much. Falcons basically played a lot better, and these Donk style shouts from Flamas looked inappropriate in my opinion, especially when you or your team loses so embarrassingly. Surely no hate to Flamas, but it doesn't add up a bit. Anyways, it was a funny cringe to watch. Flamas yells at Snappy and he just sits there like he's scared, can't even say anything. But the result speaks for the Falcons captain instead, easy 2-0. After the game, by the way, Flamus apparently got a big blow from the community saying, "Why are you yelling, bro? Stop it." So he posted a brief and clear reply that this shouting is just him trying to raise morale, and he asked not to talk about this stuff anymore. GL, by the way, got eliminated already, having earned only $5k in total. Meanwhile, OG played against Complexity. And you know what, guys? OG now more and more remind me of EG. They've been having so many reshuffles, and the results are just getting worse and worse. They sold their main shooter and taken who in his place? I mean, no offense, I'm just looking at the logical results. And now, my friends, it's time for a fun fact, some interesting statistics. OG hasn't won a game in more than 100 days. So basically, for almost half a year, the boys just sit around, earn money for mediocre results, and feel satisfied. Nice. I'm sorry, guys, got a little toxic in the end. And also, yesterday we had tense matches, of which only the first one had no surprises, as G2 knocked out FaZe into the lower bracket. In another match of the upper bracket, NAVI shocked everyone and lost to Team Liquid 1-2, taking only their signature Mirage. Well, anyways, not all is lost for Alexei B's gang yet, so we will see. Then BIG sensationally pushed Virtus.pro straight to Blast Showdown, meaning VP are out. Also 2-1, and I mean everyone was also shocked by the result, because VP had been playing so well lately. But we're here obviously for the scandals, for the news, and we had one as always. In the last match, Cloud9 lost to Ninjas in Pyjamas, which also surprised many, but the point was not in the match, rather in what happened after it. Boombl4, our good guy, suddenly had a verbal conflict with NPL. It all started with NPL, the current B8 player and the person who was in the NAVI system with Boombl4 together at the same time, wrote the following: "It's nice to see when a bot that can only scream loses." In response to this, Boombl4 simply laughed in his Telegram channel, but NPL decided to continue and posted a screenshot from a prank. There, Boombl4 wrote the following: "Why didn't you pick like that in NAVI, NPL? Was Blade too cruel to you? XD." And NPL commented on it like this: "Many thought that I was trying to hype around or something, but of course not. I don't need any conflicts, especially with such players." I am attaching a screenshot from our prank, and I think it says it all. This is the first time I see someone write something like this during a training match. And Boombl4 responded to this like this. He posted a screenshot of a chat with Hattrick, who said, "All good, bro, no bad blood," and Boombl4 himself added, "Apparently it's not all good for the little nipple sad face." You know, because nipple, NPL and all that. And well, my friends, that came out of nowhere. I don't really believe that this will escalate into something really bad, but it wasn't a great moment anyways. And I guess on such a positive note, we will end the video. Thank you guys kindly for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment with whatever you want. We really appreciate your feedback. I'm not saying goodbye for a long time. See you soon.